Welcome back to the Mind and Money podcast. I'm Val, a financial planner.
And I'm Sherry, a financial coach. And today we're just going to give you the rundown of how we manage our money and how our different accounts and the products all work together to do the things that we want and need them to do. So we're going to talk business and personal, unless we talk too much about personal and then business becomes a different podcast. But we're gonna go with it. But on the personal side of it, I do things a little differently than most of my clients do. So I'm going to talk about what I do, and then I'm also going to talk about what most of my clients do because they're not quite as money nerdy as me.
Yes. So first, let's talk about institution. I think we both personally enjoy an institution that has low or no fees.
Banks that have fees, they piss me off. Some banks, because I do work with a lot of US-based clients, recently a couple have shared what they're paying in overdraft, and it just fucking guts me how much US financial institutions are charging for overdraft. And it's not like a monthly, it's every time
that they go into it.
And it's like, bitch, don't let that charge go through if it's going to put me in overdraft. Because it just,
I got you.
When you're already having challenges, and then you get hit with an overdraft fee, it's like, well, fuck, might as well not even bother. Like, screw it. Anyways.
Right. Okay.
I do try and avoid the bank fees.
Yes.
And I also do dislike the minimum balance maintenance but then I also like to have a bank that has a physical branch that I can go into because sometimes you just need that.
And I personally think that 2 institutions is enough. If you have more than that, you should probably streamline. Sherry, when it comes to,
I have to test them all out so I can tell the people.
Fair. And I do have clients that have accounts that are just like sitting dormant. I'm like, okay, if it's not doing you necessarily any harm to have that.
Well, but sometimes they have dormant fees. So if you have money in the account, watch for that.
Yes, pay attention to them. But if you like maybe a more digital bank, such as in Canada, we've got like Simply, Tangerine, big fan of those banks. And if you want to have a separate account with I can walk in and talk to someone about this account, then there's the major banks there. But with most of our structures, we like to have more than one bank account. So
I haven't counted lately. Maybe if I have time before we air this episode, I will count.
Do not pay fees on all of your accounts. In our personal world, and if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, business and personal separate. Sherry will yell it from the rooftops. Keep them separate. It's easier for you and your bookkeeper and to have some organization. When I went into business, I had no guidance on that until I met Sherry. And even though I was in finances, I did not enter into being a financial planner to necessarily be a business owner. I just love what I did. Everything was commingled. So step 1 is separating. And then having those personal accounts. So what does yours look like, Sherry?
Okay, so, and there are lots of ways to do this with different accounts and financial institutions, no matter where you live, but being Canadian, my main accounts are at Scotiabank. And I don't love this, but we maintain a minimum balance on the personal side to not pay bank fees. And on my business account, I do pay bank fees just because, like, if you are Canadian and you have a business account that connects to QuickBooks and gives you access to have multiple accounts so I do have multiple accounts for my business, but only pay fees on one. Like, I want a simple online, no fee, easily connects to QuickBooks. I thought EQ Bank was the solution for that, but then they don't connect to QuickBooks. Like, it annoys the shit out of me. So my husband and I do have joint finances. We do have separate accounts, which we'll get into later. So here's my full rundown.
Yeah.
Main bank at Scotia for the business and personal, and we'll go down the personal rabbit hole right now. The main bank, all of the income goes into. So my husband's paycheck goes into, I pay myself my salary from my business, and all of our bills are paid from that account. And then this is where typically my clients don't do this because it's too many executive functioning steps. We use a credit card for basically all of our spending, anything that a credit card can be used for without having extra charges. So we put our insurance on there, we put our phones on there, we put groceries, gas, everything. And then this is where it's like there's too many steps for most people. So what I recommend for most people is separate bank account to do that from with a set amount every week, pay week. So every time before we get paid. So we get paid on a Thursday. And yes, I do pay myself a biweekly salary because you can do that even if you're self-employed. It lines up with my husband's payday. The day before that, I go in and I go through the credit card and I'll categorize things. And this is where it's like, oh my God, too many steps because I like to know. And then I'll pay off the balance in full based on where it needs to come from. And then again, you can see why it's too many extra steps for most people. And then from that main bank account, we also each have personal spending accounts. So again, every payday, money goes into our individual spending accounts where it's like YOLO, do whatever you want with it because it is yours to spend or save freely. And then also every payday, we have money that goes into sinking fund accounts. So these used to be at Tangerine, but Tangerine pissed me off. This is like a theme here. It's like, I'll stay with you and I'll be loyal until you piss me off because they offer promotional savings rates.
Yeah.
And then they switched it so that it was only new deposits. And then they switched it so it would be 6 months of a rate. So it just felt like there were too many hoops to jump through to get a consistent savings rate. So then I now have all of our sinking funds at Coho Financial, which full disclosure, I did work there for a hot minute. So, but again, this is probably too many executive functioning steps because I can't get the money where I need it to go without some manual intervention because you have one account, but then you have different savings goals. You're supposed to be able to automate it
from institution to institution.
Well, from like main account into like the sub savings buckets. But when I set them up, it just, because they really want to help you save X amount by X date and automatically pull money from your spending account based on your goal.
Oh, okay.
And I just want it to be the same amount. And I had a challenge
I think most people do.
with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And again, I do pay a fee over there as well. But that gives me access to 3.5% interest, which I've done the math and it more than pays for itself. And we're also able to set them all up under a joint account. So that's one of the things I really like too is there was a period of time where they didn't have access to the 3.5% interest rate under a joint. So I just had them under mine. And I just don't really like that because I just like to think worst case scenario, if I die, how does my husband get access
to
the money?
Jason. Yes.
And like we're all full transparent. You get to see all the things. I see all the things. And then that is where I have my spending account.
That's where Sherry's spend lives. Okay. So you recently made a cool investment into a big old red light. So you bought that with your credit card.
Yes.
And then you went to your Sherry spend account in Coho and you paid from your Coho to your credit card?
Yep. Because we do that because I like to see where all the money goes. So whereas for a client, it's just like put the money in a spending account, spend it however you want. But me, I like to be able to say like at the end of 2025, we spent an average of $627 per month on groceries. Because I like to see the individual lines because that makes my brain and my heart.
Where we know for most of our clients, this is more steps than you want to take, which is fair. We are money nerds. We love what we do and we like genuinely.
And I like to get the 3%
get into it.
Cash back on my credit card. And I don't pay interest except for like one time where I'm like missed it.
It's okay.
Anyways.
You are forgiven. So we have the personal setup where every payday money is moving to go do jobs.
Yeah. And that's really the foundation of it on the business and the personal. Like give it a job.
Yeah.
So then on the savings side, let me pull up what the different savings accounts are, because this is, I think, something that people will enjoy to see. Like, what am I actually saving for?
And when you say sinking funds, that's what the savings accounts are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%. And these accounts make me happy. And these accounts make me know that like we're preparing for shit. And sometimes things happen that are not prepared for.
And there's some clients where I've worked with where they want to see separate accounts, like for a vet, for emergency, for...
the separation helps my brain so much.
And the feature of nicknaming accounts. I also have other clients that are like, I just want a savings account. They don't want to have it categorized. There's no wrong answer. It's whatever works for your mind.
But know that if you think you're going to maintain a file that tracks what's in that spending account and what different purposes it has, let's be real. are you going to do that?
In the saving. Right.
Yeah. Because if you think you're going to have, well, $50 is for this and $100 is for this, and I'm going to have a fancy file that maintains it.
No, you'll just have
Do your brain a favor and just add
some.
more accounts. So, okay, I'm going to cross over to business here a little bit too, because in my Coho account, that is where I hold my salary savings and my income tax savings and my like profit/bonus, because I don't want her sitting over in Scotiabank earning squat for interest. So even though
and any money that sits for more than 30 days gets held there.
not all of it, but it's like the differentiating factor for me is that my salary, my income tax, and my profit/bonus, like those are personal spending. So I do have, like, it's not surprisingly that we're going to go back and forth between business and personal. I do have like a business savings account that stays with Scotia because like it's business.
Yeah.
And I will use it to buy business things.
Okay.
It's not going into personal for some use.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how my brain works. Okay, so I have my salary. We have a car maintenance fund.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a Sherry vacation fund because this is where I put money towards where like Jason does golf things and
But you take money from your spend account to put in there.
Well, there's like, we get money from our spending account, but we also have once a year at bonus time when it's Jason's large golf investment. And I'm like, well, fair is fair.
So his golf investment comes from which account?
It comes from like our joint account.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, there's my income tax savings, a property tax and insurance savings. We pay our home insurance annually, so we save up for that all year long. And then property tax is just as property tax is. Christmas and gifting. We have a specific large expense coming up from for our cottage. And this money is just designated in its own like separate bucket for now because it would break your heart. I maybe have shared how much it costs for a giant pile of giant rocks before. But
yes, you have.
New tax savings. And this account came from me. It's just like, I'm such a spiteful person sometimes. This came from me needing a new phone years ago because my phone was not functioning. And I went into the Rogers store at the mall, which sounds very 2002. But they told me that my plan was going to go up a significant amount and basically never to go back down. So I got mad at them. And then I just went to the Apple store and bought a phone outright. And then it was time for me to do like my biweekly credit card payoff. I went, I got no plan to pay for that. Hence the new savings fund, our joint vacation fund, emergency savings, our new car fund.
Yep.
So you might think this is ridiculous, but if you have a car payment right now, when that car payment is done, keep that car, take care of it, and start putting money away for the next time you need a new car. And then a home maintenance savings. So excessive? Maybe. Does it work for us? Yes. And when I say us, I specifically mean me because I'm the shocker CFO of the household. So it's the combination of like together, but still having some individual spending decisions and all those accounts. Like basically it's like any expense that could be a bigger expense at some point in time, trying to have those savings accounts that address them. And sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes there's not enough money in it. And you make decisions based on the information you have at the time, which will change. And then you just go with it. So
for the person that is just starting out and you're like, okay, I need to do something because what I'm doing isn't working. Like Sherry said, where they have their bills account where everything lands and then they spend using the credit card. Most clients need a bit of a pause from the plastic.
Yes.
So instead of spending with the credit card, have a separate checkings account and that is your living. So money transferring there every pay. And that's what you have for fuel, for groceries.
Basically for anything that's a household or individual need.
Yes.
That's not a bill.
Yes.
And ideally you start with a plan that's based on all of your values. But if not, just guesstimate a number and put it in there and try it and see how it works.
Yeah. And look at it and go, okay, for the next 2 weeks, what will I need? It's an experiment. See if the amount that gets you there.
Account to make spending decisions. Like, can we go out for dinner?
Yes.
Is that ordering pizza or is that going to a nice like sit down dinner? Or is that, well, shit, I've got $80 in there and I need to put gas in my car. So that's a figure out
looking in
what
the
we have at
cupboards.
home.
Yep. So with like what that does is it where the credit card can give you I'll deal with that later, or there's no real hard zero. This gives you the container to have some control within. It's not about restricting and saying, I can't do this. It's what can I do with what I have? And I think there's a big misconception around that because budgets on paper can look so good. But then when it comes to action, there's no parameter and no one's standing there going, you shouldn't do that. That's not really a part of your priorities. What about this next weekend? It's very easy to just say, I'm just going to get it. I'll deal with it later. And then the credit card snowball can start from there. So getting back to or getting clear on, okay, my bills are taken care of in this account. My spending is very clear. It's similar to some people, this works well for them when they withdraw cash and it's like with the cash in hand, that's what you get. Just not always our places accepting cash. And that can be a barrier just going to the ATM to get it out.
Well, and it's not practical for most lives.
Because then it's like, where did that cash go?
And this is the one thing where I sent an email out recently, which I'm trying to be more consistent at sending semi-regular emails to my email subscribers, which if you're on there, thank you, where I shared that 2 clients that I recently started with, we were having meetings in month 2 and they had implemented this change. And of course, you wait for the account to open, you wait for the debt. So they've been basically 2 weeks into trying this. And they're like, oh my God, I feel much less stressed. I feel I'm spending more intentionally. I feel like I'm spending less. I feel like I have a very clear one step that I need to do to answer the question, can I do this? Can I buy this? They're checking that spending account.
Yep.
They have confidence that their bills account is okay because we have a plan for that. And they know that and they didn't feel restricted.
Yes.
They were able to do the things that they needed to do. And it's one step that does have additional steps to it, like getting a card, linking it to another account, going to get the card from the mail, activate. But it is so worth it because then you have that soft boundary and there's nothing saying you can't transfer extra money to this account if you need to, and you can't right size it if you pick the wrong amount. It's just having it where you know how much you can put in there because you know what your bills are is a really key piece of the puzzle. So we got off on a tangent because I will scream this from the rooftop. If there's one thing you can do, it's this: separate spending account.
And if you are joint with a partner, you both have to be on the same page.
Yes.
You both have to check the bank account. Typically, there is a more CFO role, but if your spouse does not give a crap about what's in that account and just goes and spends
maybe it's not one account, then maybe it's 2 accounts. Maybe they have their own spending account and you have your own based on how it works in your household to spend the money.
Right. But let's say that there's enough for groceries and fuel until Friday, and your spouse is like, well, I'm going to go eat out for lunch today. And then that takes away from the big picture. So it really does take being a team, which ties in well to another episode that we're going to record.
Yeah, if they give 0 shits about the money and you're trying to implement things, red flag.
Red flag. Which ties in well to an episode that we're going to yap about, which is couples and money and questions to ask kind of before combining or how to combine.
Okay, Val, talk to me about your personal money setup. What does she look like?
So used to have a lot more and probably will be getting back to having a lot more in the future in terms of accounts, but at a point of life had to create things more simplified. So I've got the main account, all income lands there, all bills leave. Then I've got my spend account, and that is where money transfers every payday. That's what I live off of. Now,
how often are you paying yourself?
Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly is my favorite pay
I
schedule.
do prefer bi-weekly as well.
Semi-monthly is my least favorite.
Yeah, anytime there's semi-monthly, I'm like,
it's bigger in the US. Mm-hmm. Bi-weekly is very common here. Semi-monthly, especially for like tech companies, is very common in the US, and I hate it.
I'm like, knock it off. So then I still use a credit card, but then it's making sure that if you're using a credit card, the funds are in that spend account. Or as an example, with my savings, there's a vet savings. So if I take a dog to the vet, I take the money from that savings account and I pay that amount off the credit card.
Like right away?
Probably, no, not necessarily right away, usually on a weekly to bi-weekly basis.
Okay.
Yeah. And then from my personal account, from business, because so all of mine lives at one institution.
Which is?
Simply.
Okay.
Yeah. So my business account, there's the everything lands. So every dollar that I earn lands in my main business account. From there, it gets split into 3 savings. So one is my salary account, one is my income taxes account, and then the other one is my business savings. So I just go off of a percentage. So if it lands in there, 30% goes to income taxes, 20% goes to business expenses, and 50% goes to my business salary account. And that's where I pay myself biweekly, automatically set up. So I don't have to think about it.
Beautiful. And your expenses are then coming directly out of the bank account. There's no credit card.
Or there is a separate business visa that business comes off of, and then I'm making sure that it gets paid from my business expense account.
Okay. And is that at Simply as well?
Everything.
Yeah. I do love everything altogether, but I also love optimizing things. I'm not one that just moves things. This is why we left Tangerine and I say left, but like I still have the accounts there because
right. But you didn't like to do the transfers and like chase the interest rate.
Yes.
Not always ideal.
Chasing the interest rate, it's just not, it doesn't add enough value to me to do that. I'm okay with paying an annual fee to Coho to get a very good interest rate, even though I could probably do better. It's just like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm at peace with that. Okay. In the salary account, how many pays do you like to have? Do you have like a safety net in your salary account that you don't? You're like, I like to have at least X number of pays to cover things so that I feel better.
3 to 6 months is kind of my ideal for having in that account.
Yep.
Of my income.
Might sound unhinged if you're listening to this and you just got everything all a hot mess.
Yeah.
But you start with like one equivalent of your salary. And what is the indicator that it's time to give yourself a raise then?
More funds compiling in there, but then correlated to that raise is what am I doing with that raise? Because it's not necessarily to support, I need to spend more money. So where am I reallocating that? So with that raise, am I increasing my automatic investment that happens biweekly, giving the new dollars a job? But yes, to Sherry's point, not always is there 3 to 6 months in there, and not always was that the goal. So just by putting a system in place helps you get started. Because when I first started in business, as being in business can be, big payments would come in, and then it was just chasing myself to pay off big bills.
Yes.
So giving dollars a job, especially if you're starting out, because income tax time rolls around. If you are your own business owner, employer,
the earlier you can start doing this, the better. And if you're an established business and you're overwhelmed by taxes and you can't put 30% away, start with 5.
Yep. Start by having
and
something.
then move it to 10. And the best thing is that it has a job. And then, yes, if it's in an account for your tax savings, you can still take it out, but then I'm stealing from future me and taxes. And for my brain, when that money has a job, it probably guts me more than it should to have to take from. So like when that situation came where I just impulsively went up to the Apple store and be like, give me a phone. Here's my credit card. The only place it made sense for us to take that money was from the vacation fund. And don't want to do that again. So what can we implement? And it also really helps us now. Our phones are 5-ish years old. We have the money in there to do it, but also I really just like the money growing.
Yeah.
So.
And if your phones are functioning.
Yeah.
Why mess with a good thing?
Yep. And I keep like, okay, when's the next phone coming out? Is it going to have like significantly better features? And it's like, no, wait. This one is perfectly fine. She's good. So then my business funds also are at Scotiabank with our main personal. So I have very similar to Val. And this is like a spin-off of the Profit First system. I've continued to customize it and make it my own and do what works. So I have an income account where all my money goes into every month. And then once a month, I do my transfers and it's divided amongst my salary, income taxes, which is a big one. And I hate seeing that number, but I know if I don't do it, then like she's going to come and get me anyways. I also have a separate account for GST, HST savings, which is sales tax here in Canada. And because I like to see it separate from my income tax, because also the way I do my accounts, GST, HST savings, business, personal income tax, personal. So that helps me as well. I use a credit card for my business expenses, but I also have a larger expense savings account. So when I plug my number into my spreadsheet with my income for the month, I divide my expense percentage to pay off my credit card. And then anything that's above that goes into my large expense savings account. So next time I need to replace my computer or something else that's larger. So I think I covered everything.
Yeah.
And I don't do my HST savings as a percentage. The true profit first is everything is a percentage. But I actually will look at my QuickBooks because it's not a straight amount off the top, because I work with a lot of US clients and clients in other provinces. So
it's not always
it's not just a straight, like if I worked with everybody in Ontario, I would probably just take 13% right off the top, but that doesn't work. So, and again, like having that separate account lets me clearly see if I'm on track, but it also lets me clearly see at the end of the year, when all is said and done, how much extra do I have in my HST savings account, for example, and how much of an extra bonus can I pay myself? Because even though I could go to QuickBooks and like save the exact amount, I like to put a little extra in there because I know that's going to be a reward coming back to me when I do my taxes. And I like a nice little dopamine reward for that.
So in listening to this, what we want you to be inspired to do is not be overwhelmed and go, oh my gosh, this sounds really insane.
It does sound a little insane when I list them all out.
Yeah. But having business and personal separate, and within personal, having a spend account separate from your bills.
And we touched on this briefly, but if you manage finances together with a spouse, like if you're joint, having some independence. So this could look like, if you are like, yes, we're not on team credit card anymore. This could look like a joint spending account where the household needs come out of, and then individual spending accounts that are the YOLO. You guys each individually spend on whatever you want. No questions asked. A giant box can show up at your house and your husband can scratch his head and 3 days later ask what it was and then roll his eyes when you tell him.
Speaking from experience.
Love you, honey. So it's just having what works. And then if something's not working, asking yourself, like, what's the friction?
Mm-hmm.
If it's that joint spending account and your partner's spending out of it while you've allocated every dollar is a source of stress, you could each have a needs and a wants spending account. Or you could take steps to further separate, because joint doesn't work for everybody. So having a setup that works is the key. And the automation with money moving into a spending account and spending out of there really allows you to be on autopilot more. I had a client come back from vacation and she's had this system set up for a long time, and she had overspent on vacation a little bit, but she knew she had a plan to deal with that. And she just wasn't stressed and was able to enjoy her vacation because she has this separate account, and money in there is just like, you spend it and you know the date when it's going to get funded next. And it doesn't matter where it gets spent, and you don't have to track it. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And it allows you to have a more stabilized plan for the money in your hub account or your main personal account, because then you can see, okay, these bills come out in the next 2 weeks. And then here's the chunk that I'm moving to my spending account. And then here's the bills that come out in the next 2 weeks, because you're not having to, okay, I go to the grocery store twice a week and it costs between like $75 and $200. You're not having to track every single transaction to know where your money has gone and where it's going to go, because that's too many steps. So having a system where it's like, okay, if I can't do anything because life is lifing, things are still going to happen and money's still going to get where it needs to go. So I do not recommend what I do. I recommend more of what Val does, where she's able to have that automation. And one thing I really like, simply, you can set up recurring e-transfers, which I have not seen anywhere else. It's probably available other places, but being able to automatically e-transfer, that is gold. And for US-based clients, this is a unique thing that we have here in Canada, where if I have Val's email address or her cell phone number, I can just send her money bank to bank without
PayPal,
without Zelle or Venmo. It's just, and if you're Canadian, set up your auto deposit, please. It is actually safer than having a password. And God, there's nothing worse than having somebody send you money when you don't have auto deposit set up, and then the question for the password is an answer that you should know, but because then you have ADHD, you don't remember their fucking kid's name because they're more an acquaintance. And then you have to go stalk them on Facebook to figure out what their kid's name is. Because,
auto deposit, please.
Dear God, you don't want to ask them like, oh, Yeah, like we've been friends-ish, acquaintances for 10 years, but like I don't remember your
No,
oldest
just
kid's
say,
name.
"Oh, what's the password?" Question mark capital. It's not working. And then
Yeah,
they'll
can
send
you
it to
spell
you.
it out for me? Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. And they're like, it's Joe.
You're like, got it, got it. Yeah, so we hope that this helped to give you an idea of how our bank accounts flow and some small action items to do. Not reinvent the wheel, just start somewhere.
One step at a time.
Yes.
And I was recently cleaning up my photos because I had to clean up my photos because my MacBook wouldn't update because there wasn't enough storage. But I deleted every meme on there that was an idea that I was going to come back to one day. But one of them was one step at a time. And it was this picture of stairs that were outside and had clearly had freezing rain on them for a very long time. Like basically there wasn't a step. It was just like a triangle of ice on every. It's like, yeah, just one step at a time. And that's sometimes
How it feels.
how it feels when you're trying to make changes with your money. So figure out what you want to get to, and then what is the biggest source of stress between you and that thing, and how can you eliminate or reduce that? And often it's the credit card. I love a credit card
Yep.
reward or cash back, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's too much. I have had clients stop and then start again and then be like, no, not for us.
Yep. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too many steps sometimes, and it's okay to try something again and then realize again that it's not for you. So try one thing. Don't get overwhelmed by what we do. Where we're at right now has been a journey and is a
Mhm.
constantly evolving journey, and we're money nerds, and I like to know all of the things.
Yes.
But you don't need to know all of the things. You just need to know what's going to help you.
And if you
today.
have a situation where you would love us to look at it and you're ready to be vulnerable and show us your numbers, we would love to have a session with you and say, okay, this is what we would do
To be clear, a session with you
on the air.
on the podcast.
On the air.
Where
Yes.
you get the value of our expertise and our very creative brains that can listen to you and just start connecting all of the dots with what we think is going to help you and support you. But then you're, again, being vulnerable, sharing your numbers, but also in being vulnerable, you are helping somebody else who's in a similar situation.
Help us,
to
help you, help others.
I love that. And on that note, we will end because we could keep going down this rabbit hole forever. So we are going to sign off, and we hope you have a great day, and we will see you next time.